There were beautiful canals in Suzhou. Pingzhong Street had a beautiful canal running down the side of it. It's hard to compare to anywhere else. They're very narrow most of the time. It's wild how they just crisscross the whole city. You know, how it's like they're sort of like hidden in the middle of all these major streets and then also sort of weaving through the block interiors.
So Suzhou canals are, you know, the character of the city. That's why people go there, and that's again the Venice of the East, and that's why people go there to see it. But then when you start walking around the city, you don't really know that they're right next to you sometimes, and they end up being the dump yard of some of the residential areas.
You have the beautiful canal. You should face it and take advantage of it. Suzhou definitely did not do that so much, at least not in my experience. Tongju is beautiful. I don't know how it exists or why it exists. I suspect that behind the sort of incredible beauty of that little space is sort of a very carefully implemented plan.
So Tongli Water Village was interesting because contrary to what we had seen in Suzhou, Tongli put a lot of effort in developing its waterfront and in developing that identity of the waterfront and embracing the canal as their main asset. So they had a very cohesive design as far as storefronts, where you see outdoor seating that was adjacent to the waterfront. It was part of their city, their identity. And in fact, you have to, as a foreigner, you have to pay to get into the village, because it's they value it so much that it's not easily accessible for everybody.
In order to enter the village, you need to pay a fee, which is really weird, right? It's like a city. You go in and people live there, but you have to pay to get in. So which makes me think, yes, you can have beautiful public spaces and with such imperfection as that place. Everything was perfect, but it costs.
You start to see the same aspect of commercial activity catered to families and locals in a smaller scale, though, and more artisanal, if that makes sense. There are many options to try, from sesame bread or rice cakes or grass buns again, which was really interesting for us as foreigners to see that there wasn't a culture of sitting down dining, but it was just more of stopping and grabbing little bits around the village.
Shanghai is really a global city, and the spaces feel like, it felt like New York. It felt like a city. You could understand it. You knew what was going on.
So when we got to Shanghai, like I knew that it was going to be this major city and international global center, but it was interesting to see how familiar it felt. Like getting on the subway, getting on the train, walking around the streets. Except for the language, it was just something very familiar to me.
One of the most interesting things I observed is how sort of folks bring to public space the things that in a lot of cases in the West we really don't. Things like a haircut or like your painting lesson or your singing lesson or something. I don't know. Yeah, I found it I liked it a lot that sort of folks would come out and everyone would just be sort of doing their own thing in public. And yeah.